The bulk of the armory loomed against the sunset. It was strange to find an armory in a city which relied on deceit, bribery, and assimilation to defeat its enemies. But, as Sergeant Colon said, once you'd won their weapons off him, you needed somewhere to store the things. Carrot rapped on the door. After a while there were footsteps, and a small window slid back. A suspicious voice said,
"Yes."
"Corporal Carrot, City Militia."
"Never heard of it. Bugger off."
The hatch snapped back. Carrot heard Nobby snigger. He thumped on the door again.
"Yes."
"I'm Corporal Carrot." The hatch moved, but hit Carrot's truncheon as he rammed it in the hole. "And I'm here to collect some arms for my men."
"Yeah? Where's your authority?"
"What? But I'm—" The truncheon was knocked away, and the hatch thudded into place.
"Excuse me," said Corporal Nobbs, pushing past. "Let me have a go. I've been here before, sort of thing."
He kicked the door with his steel-capped boots, known and feared wherever men were on the floor and in no position to fight back. Snap.
"I tell you, Pug."
"Auditors,"
said Nobby. There was a moment's silence.
"What?"
"Here to take inventory."
"Where's your authority?"
Oh, he says, where's my authority?"
Nobby leered at the guards.
"Oh, keeps me hanging around here while his cronies can nip out the back to bring the stuff back out of Hawk, eh?"
"I never—"
And then, yeah, we'll get the old 1,000 swords trick, yeah? 50 crates stacked up, turns out the bottom 40 are full of rocks. What's your name, mister? You open this door right now."
The hatch shut. There was a sound of bolts being pulled back by someone who was not at all convinced it was a good idea and would be asking searching questions in a minute.
"Got a piece of paper on you, Fred? Quick."
"Yes, but—"
said Sergeant Colon.
"Any paper, now."
Colon fumbled in his pocket and handed Nobby his grocery bill just as the door opened. Nobby swaggered in at high speed, forcing the man inside to walk backwards.
"Don't run off," he shouted. "I haven't found anything wrong."
"I wasn't ready."
"Yet."
Carrot had time to get an impression of a cavernous place full of complicated shadows. Apart from the man who was fatter than Colon, there were a couple of trolls who appeared to be operating a grindstone. Current events did not seem to have penetrated the thick walls.
"All right, no one panic. Just stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing, please. I'm Corporal Nobbs, Ankh-Morpork City Ordnance Inspection City Audit."
The piece of paper was waved in front of the man's eyes at vision-blurring speed, and Nobby's voice faltered a bit as he contemplated the end of the sentence.
"A Bureau Special Audit Inspection. How many people work here?"
"Just me."
Nobby pointed at the trolls.
"What about them?"
The man spat on the floor.
"Oh, I thought you said people."
Carrot stuck out his hand automatically, and it slammed against Detritus's breastplate.
"Okay," said Nobby. "Let's see what we've got here."
He walked fast along the racks, so that everyone else had to run to keep up.
"What's this?"
Don't
know, eh?"
"Sure. It's
a triple-string 2,000-pound carriage-mounted siege crossbow with a double-action windlass."
right."
"Isn't this a Clatchian reinforced crossbow with a goat leg cocking mechanism and the underhalf bayonet?"
Yeah?"
Nobby gave it a cursory examination, and then tossed it aside. The rest of the night watch looked on in astonishment. Nobby had never been known to wield any weapon beyond a knife.
"Have you got one of those Hershibian 12-shot bows with the gravity feed?" he snapped.
What you see is what we got, mister."
Nobby pulled a hunting crossbow from its rack. His skinny arms twanged as he hauled on the cocking lever.
"Sold the boats for this thing."
"They're right there."
Nobby selected one from the shelf and dropped it into its slot. Then he sighted along the shaft. He turned.
"I like this inventory," said Nobby. "We'll take it all."
The man looked down the sights at Nobby's eye and, to Angwa's horrified admiration, didn't faint.
"That little bow don't scare me,"
he said.
"This little bow scare you?" said Nobby. "No, right. This is a little bow. A little bow like this wouldn't scare a man like you, because it's such a little bow. I'd need a bigger bow than this to scare a man like you."
Angwa would have given a month's pay to see the quartermaster's face from the front. She'd watched as Detritus had lifted down the siege bow, cocked it with one hand and a barely audible grunt, and stepped forward. Now she could imagine the eyeballs swiveling as the coldness of the metal penetrated the back of the armorer's fleshy red neck.
"Now the one behind you. That's a big bow," said Nobby.
It wasn't as if the 6-foot iron arrow was sharp. It was supposed to smash through doorways, not do surgery.
"Can I pull trigger yet?"
Detritus rumbled into the man's ear.
You wouldn't dare fire that thing in here. That's a siege weapon. He'll go right through the wall."
"Eventually," said Nobby.
"What this bit for?"
said Detritus.
Now, look.
"I hope you keep that thing maintained," said Nobby. "Them things were a bugger for metal fatigue, especially on the safety catch."
"What are a safety catch?"
said Detritus. Everything went quiet. Carrot found his voice a long way off. "Corporal Nobbs?"
"Yes, sir?"
"I'll take over from this point, if you don't mind." He gently pushed the siege bow away, but Detritus hadn't liked the crack about people, and it kept swinging back again. "Now," said Carrot, "I don't like this element of coercion. We're not here to bully this poor man. He's a city employee, just like us. It's very wrong of you to put him in fear. Why not just ask?"
"Sorry, sir," said Nobby.
Carrot patted the armorer on the shoulder. "May we take some weapons?" he said.
What?
"Some weapons, for official purposes." The armorer looked unable to cope with this.
You mean I got a choice?"
he said. "Why, certainly. We practice policing by consent in Ankh-Morpork. If you feel unable to agree to our request, you only have to say the word." There was a faint bong as the tip of the iron arrow once again bounced on the back of the armorer's skull. He sought in vain for something to say, because the only word he could think of right now was, "Fire!"
He said, yeah, right, sure. Take what you want."
"Fine, fine. And Sergeant Colin will give you a receipt, adding, of course, that you release the weapons of your own free will."
My own free will?
"You have absolute choice in the matter, of course." The man's face screwed up in the effort of desperate cogitation.
I reckon
"Yes?"
I reckon it's okay for you to take him. Take him right away."
"Good man. Do you have a trolley?"
"And do you happen to know what it is they say about dwarfs?" said Cuddy.
It crept over Angua once again that Carrot had no irony in his soul. He meant every word. If the man had really held out, Carrot would probably have given in. Of course, there was a bit of a gap between probably and certainly. Nobby was down at the end of the row, occasionally squeaking with delight as he found an interesting warhammer or an especially evil-looking glaive. He was trying to hold everything all at once. Then he dropped a lot and ran forward.
"Oh, wow! A Klatchian fire engine! This is more my meteor!"
They heard him rummaging around in the gloom. He emerged pushing a sort of bin on small, squeaky wheels. It had various handles and fat, leathery bags, and a nozzle at the front. It looked like a very large kettle.
"The leather's been kept greased, too."
"What is it?" said Carrot.
"And there's oil in the reservoir."
Nobby pumped a handle energetically.
"Last I heard, this thing had been banned in 8 countries, and 3 religions said they'd excommunicate any soldiers found using it."
Author's note. 5 more embraced it as a holy weapon, and instructed that it be used on all infidels, heretics, Gnostics, and people who fidgeted during the sermon. End author's note.
"Anyone got a light?"
"Here," said Carrot. "But what's—"
"Watch!"
Nobby lit a match, applied it to the tube at the front of the device, and pulled a lever. They put out the flames eventually.
"Needs a bit of adjustment,"
said Nobby through his mask of soot. "No," said Carrot. For the rest of his life, he'd remember the jet of fire scorching his face en route to the opposite wall.
"But it's—"
"No, it's too dangerous.
"It's meant to be."
I mean, it could hurt people."
"Ah," said Nobby. "Right. You should have said. We're after weapons that don't hurt people, right?"
Corporal Nobbs?
said Sergeant Colin, who'd been even closer to the flame than Carrot.
"Yes, Sarge?"
You heard Corporal Carrot. No heathen weapons. Anyway, how come you know so much about all this stuff?
"Military service."
"Really, Nobby?"
said Carrot. Had a special job, sir. Very responsible.
And what was that?
Quartermaster, sir,
said Nobby, saluting smartly. You were a quartermaster? Said Carrot. In whose army?
Duke of Pseudopolis, sir.
But Pseudopolis always lost its wars.
Ah, well.
Who did you sell the weapons to?
That's a slander, that is. They just used to spend a lot of time away for polishing and sharpening.
Nobby, this is Carrot talking to you. How much time, approximately?
Approximately? Oh, about 100% if we're talking approximately, sir.
Nobby?
Sir?
You don't have to call me sir.
Yes, sir.
In the end, Cuddy remained faithful to his axe, but added a couple more as an afterthought. Sergeant Colon chose a pike because the thing about a pike, the important thing, was that everything happened at the other end of it, i.e. a long way off. Lance Constable Angua selected, without much enthusiasm, a short sword, and Corporal Nobbs was a kind of mechanical porcupine of blades, bows, points, and knobbly things on the end of chains. You sure, Nobby? Said Carrot. There's nothing you want to leave?
It's so hard to choose, sir.
Detritus was hanging onto his huge bow. That all you're taking, Detritus?
No, sir. Taking flint and moraine, sir.
The two trolls who had been working in the armory had formed up behind Detritus.
Swear him in, sir,
said Detritus.
Use troll oath.
Flint saluted amateurishly.
He said he'd kick our beholding heads in if we didn't join up and do what we're told, sir,
he said.
Very old troll oath,
said Detritus.
Very famous, very traditional.
One of them could carry the Clatchian fire engine,
Nobby began hopefully. No, Nobby. Well, welcome to the Watchmen.
Corporal Carrot?
Yes, Cuddy?
It's not fair. They're trolls.
We need every man we can get, Cuddy. Carrot stood back. Now, we don't want people to think we're looking for trouble, he said.
No, dressed like this, sir. We won't have to look for trouble,
said Sergeant Colon despondently. Questions, sir? Yes, Lance Constable Angua? Who's the enemy?
Looking like this, we won't have any trouble finding enemies,
said Sergeant Colon. We're not looking for enemies, we're looking for information, said Carrot. The best weapon we can use right now is the truth. And to start with, we're going to the Fool's Guild to find out why Brother Beano stole the Gone. Did he steal the Gone? I think he may have, yes.
But he died before the Gone was stolen,
said Colon. Yes, said Carrot. I know that.
Now that,
said Colon,
is what I calls an alibi.
The squad formed up, and after a brief discussion among the trolls as to which was their left foot and which was their right, marched away. Nobby kept looking back longingly to the fire engine. Sometimes it's better to light a flamethrower than curse the darkness.